Hello and welcome to Reliastream. My name is Robert and I am going to do my best to walk you through the playlist area of Centova version 3. This is a common area where our clients will get stuck or they'll set something up wrong and we'll get support tickets about auto DJ stopping randomly, or the auto DJ won't even start. They'll get error messages and stuff like that. Usually when that happens, you have a problem in your playlist area. So let's just assume that you've watched the auto DJ help video that we released, and let's assume that you've already logged into your Centova account. You have your auto DJ running, and you want to fine-tune your playlist area, or you want to make sure that you have it set up right. Basically, you want to go back into your Centova and you want to look into your auto DJ area, and you want to click on playlists. Now what you see here is what you get by default. This is what Centova pretty much gives you when you set up your auto DJ package. So here's what we have here. We have a heavy rotation, light rotation, standard rotation, and as I explained in the auto DJ help video, heavy rotation are songs that are new, they're hot, and you want them to play the most per hour. Your light rotation, not so much. These are songs that are now old, they've fallen off the charts, and you might only want to play like one song from this folder per hour. Well, that's where you're going to put your music for those, for those older songs. They're still good, but you don't want them overpopulating if you're, playing new music. Standard rotation, probably songs that were recently hot off the charts but now are starting to slip. So you still want to play those songs, not as much as heavy, but more than the light rotation. And that's how basically they set this up. Now what you want to remember is your general rotation folders is what the auto DJ defaults to. So you have to have at least one of these folders in order for the auto DJ to function properly. Now, one of the most common mistakes we see is members will go in here and remove all of the general rotation folders and set up nothing but timed events. The problem with setting up all timed events is if you have any gaps or you have overlaps in your timed events, you're going to confuse the auto DJ and it's going to stop on you in the middle of the night when you're sleeping. That's what happens with the auto DJ. So in order to avoid that, you have to have at least one general rotation folder. Now the best way to set these up, let's just go off of the 3 that we have for now, and then I'll talk about just having one. If you have 3 folders, Centova says they're basing their auto DJ off of a 20 song per hour rotation. So you want to make sure these 3 folders equals 20 on your play weights. And what you want to do is click on the little gear. You want to go in here. This is your heavy rotation. This is the ones you want to play the most. So it's enabled, it's under general. I have it set for random. So basically this means that it's not going to pick songs in this folder in any kind of sequential order. It's just randomly going to pick music in here. I think that's the best way to go because it keeps your station fresh and it's not predictable. After a while some listeners will actually figure out that you're playing songs in a certain order if you choose sequential order. I don't do it, but you can. It's there if you want to do it that way, because you might want certain songs to play it a certain way. And then the playback weight. This is probably the most important part of a general folder. So your playback weight on the heavy rotation, I have it set to 12, and you can change that number. But for stations that I have built, I usually hang right around the 12-13 mark. And then you would hit save. Your light rotation, again, I only want one song per hour playing from this folder. They're old, but they're good. So I choose all the way down at the very bottom, which is one less frequently. It's actually at the top of the list, but it's the lower the number, the less they play. So basically I'm telling it to play 12 songs from the heavy folder, 1 song from the light folder, and then you would hit save. And then my standard rotation, again I have it set to random. I have the playback weight set to 7. So 12, 7, and 1, 20. So that's how I set these up. You feel free to play with those, around with those numbers, and tweak it any way you want. But that's basically how I set this up. Now, there are some clients out there that like to only have 1 general rotation folder. Let's say you want to keep the heavy rotation folder and you want to turn all these off. Well, basically you would go in here, disable, and you go in here, disable. Now I only have 1 active general rotation folder. I want to go into that, which is the heavy folder. I want to go to the playback weight and go all the way to 20, because basically you're telling the auto DJ to play all your music from this 1 heavy rotation folder, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You just want to make sure you have that number. One of the number 1 reasons why we get support tickets is clients will turn all of them off but 1, and the standard default number when you get your server, Centova sets it at 4. That basically means you're telling Centova DJ, Auto DJ, to play 4 songs from this folder per hour. You're going to have a whole lot of gap. So what's going to happen is your Auto DJ is going to get confused, and it'll shut off at random times. So basically, if you're going to have 1 folder, set that to 20, hit save, and now what's going to happen is all your music is going to be pulled from that 1 folder. And you can always go back in and change this. Say I want to go back to the way I had it. Say I want this at 12. Okay, I want the light rotation back on. I'm going to enable this again. Back to 1, that's already there. And I want the standard rotation back on at 7. I just need to enable it again. Hit save. Now I'm back to where I was. Now what you want to do when you're done making changes to these folders, you basically want to go back to your overview, and anytime you do server changes or setting changes, anything like that, you can reload it gracefully. Sometimes that does not work. Sometimes it will take an actual restart, or you just stop the server, and you can do this really quick where it's hardly doing anything, and then hit the start button, and there'll only be a small gap. Most listeners won't even catch it, and then flip it back on. By stopping it and starting it, you're refreshing all the settings, and that usually will work. And then these folders will work instantly that way. Now, station identification. A lot of people use station identification. We have a guy on our website named Jeffrey who we highly recommend. He does some really good work. I'm just throwing a free plug out there because he does do really good work. And if you get station IDs or jingles or sweepers, stingers, whatever, everybody has names for them, you can put them in here, and basically your playlist, you have to first enable it. Okay, it's set to interval because that's usually what you want for station identification and jingles. Now here's where you're going to tell it how often you want these jingles to play. Generally, when I do stations, I set it at around 5, and I always set it to songs. You can also set this to minutes. So you could say, well, play one jingle every 30 minutes. So you can do it that way too. And then playback style, usually you only want to play 1 from the folder. I hardly ever change that, but you can change it. You don't want to play all your jingles in a row. Your listeners will be gone. So I would highly recommend leaving that one alone. And then you would just hit save, and that one's activated. And then a weekly top 10, if you're going to do that, you can go in and activate it. And that's a scheduled event. Now these are a little different. You got a little more options here. I'm not going to enable it because I don't have a show, but you first would enable it. And then you're going to tell it when to start. So you would pick your date, your time you want it to start. If you want to repeat it weekly, daily, or you only want to play it one time, it's up to you. And then you can have this folder set up to where, say you have an opening jingle, so you would put that in your folder first, then all your music, and then maybe a closing jingle. If you're going to do it that way, then you would leave this alone, play all tracks in sequential order, and it'll play that show exactly how you have that set up. If this is just a random thing, say say that you're going to do a timed event for a mix show. You want to say you have 50 mixes inside this folder. Then you probably would want to tell it to just play random stuff, so it plays mixes in a random fashion, and then stops after so many minutes, and then you would just press save. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and actually create a playlist so you can see how it's done. Say I want to make a folder for my mix shows, and I want it to be a timed event. Alright, you go over here to create playlist, and I'm going to call it mix show. Okay, and I want this to be a scheduled event, and I want this to start on August 22nd, tomorrow, and I want this to start at, say, I wanted to start at noon. Okay, now if I'm only going to run one show and that's it, then basically I'm not going to repeat. You say never, one time only. But I'm going to say, okay, let's do this every day. So I'm going to do this daily, and every day at 12 o'clock it's going to run whatever's in this folder, exactly how you have this set up. Here's where this matters, how this works. If you're going to have a certain show with specific songs, you might have an opening jingle. Hey, we're listening to this mix, check it out, here it is now. And then it goes into your music, and then at the very end of that mix you have a closing jingle. That was our show, hope you liked it, and now back to our regular music. Well, then you would leave this exactly the way it is. If you're going to have a bunch of different mixes, say you have you just got 50 mixes up, and you just want to throw them in there, and you just want to play one of those mixes at 12 o'clock every day, well, then you would pick this bottom one, play only one random selected track from this playlist, and then it'll just play one track. And that's depending on how you do it. I would probably, if I'm going to just have 50 different mix shows in here, that's the one I would choose. Interruptible? No, I don't want to have this interrupted. I want this mix to play all the way through, and then when it's over, just go back into the general stuff. And that's what I would do. I would hit the save button, and you see it here. Now, to make sure that it is there, you can go back into your media area right here, and now you see mix show. So at this point, you would probably want to upload all your mix shows and then drop them into this folder. Now, I don't have any mix shows in here, but once the auto DJ part showed you how to do the uploading. And then once you load your mix shows in here, then you can drop them into this folder, and it's pretty much set at that point. At 12 o'clock every day, it'll play one mix show out of whatever, say you have 50 of them in there. It will pick one of them and play it, and then when it's done, it'll go back to the regular rotation. And that's pretty much how your playlists work. Just remember again, I'll reiterate, because this is the #1 problem that members have. Make sure that you have at least one general rotation folder. If you only have one general rotation folder, make sure the play weight on that is set to 20. If you're going to use the default settings, then you want to make sure that all three of those folders, your heavy, light, and standard, equals 20. It can be any way. You can have 1 at 10, 1 at 9, and 1 at 1. It's just as long as it equals 20, and you should be good. The only other way your auto DJ would stop is if you have some corrupt or bad media files uploaded, and you're going to get that if the uploaded music or MP3 files are not very good files. So I would try to stick with store-bought files. I know some people like to reduce the kilobyte rate so they can get more music on their hard drive space. Just make sure when you do that that the file is okay, it's not corrupted, and if you do that, you should be okay. And pretty much that's it. If you take those things there and go with what I've told you, you should be fine with your auto DJ playing the way it should be. You shouldn't have any kind of random stops or anything like that. But if you do, and you still think you have everything set up properly, hey, feel free to send us a support ticket, and we'll try to go in there and see what you have and try to get an idea of what's going on in here. A lot of times it's just something simple. My name is Robert, and I'm going to get out of here. Hope this video helped you out. Thank you very much.